Okay, I think that this video will seem much easier than the last ones just because we know so much at this point. Although this looks a little bit complicated, it is not. Let me show you how this works. We have to write the equation of the graph for each one of these, and so they limit it for us though. They say it's going to be the form y equals a sine of bx or y equals a cosine of bx, and so this becomes not that hard. When we look at the first graph right here, we noticed if we watch it, it is a periodic curve, and so that's following the pattern of a sine or a cosine. If we look, it starts in the middle and then it goes. Starting in the middle tells us that we're looking at a sine graph. All right, that's what tells us. So then we want to say, well, how high and low is our sine wave going? It is going up to 2 and down to -2. So that's telling us the amplitude is 2. Now, a sine wave normally starts in the middle and then it will go high, but this guy starts in the middle and it goes low. That is indicating a reflection, so that's going to make that a -2. The last thing we have to put in here is bx, and so to figure out what b is, we just look at the graph and say, well, how long did it take to complete one cycle, one period? So it went, here is one full cycle, and this might be hard to read, but that is a pi and this is a 2 pi. So it only took 1 pi units to complete a cycle. That tells us that the period is equal to pi. But we know that the period is always equal to 2 pi divided by b. So when we need to write the equation, we need to know what b is, so we're going to just cross multiply and solve. 2 pi is equal to b times pi, divide both sides by pi, and we get that b is 2. So our equation is y is equal to -2 times the sine of 2x. This will be our equation right there. Let's look at the next one. The next one is this little picture. All right, let's see. The choices are sine or cosine, and there's no phase shift, so that narrows down a lot of things for us. And so at the 0 point, it's starting high. That is indicative of a cosine graph. So we're looking at a cosine. How high and low is it going? It's going between 3 and -3. So the amplitude is 3. Now, is this reflected? No, it's not, because a cosine normally starts high and this one's starting high, so that's a +3. The only thing left to figure out is what b is. And so if we have a look at this graph and try to say, what is the period of this graph, and base off of that, we can figure it out. Well, high, middle, low, this is supposed to keep going, middle, high, until it completes. What this piece of graph that's showing us is only half of a period. So we can just reason that if it took 2 pi units to go half of a period, it would take 4 pi to complete one period. So we can say, okay, the period for this is going to be 4 pi, but we know the period is always 2 pi divided by b. We can cross multiply and get 4 pi times b is equal to 2 pi times 1, divide by 4 pi, and we get that. These will cancel. B is going to equal to 1/2. So 3 cosine of 1/2 x is the equation for this one. This next one, let's see. It is at the 0 mark, it starts low. And so it doesn't start at 0. So this is telling us it's some kind of a cosine wave. Let's see, it's going between -3 and 3. So the amplitude is 3, but the fact that it starts low is saying it's reflected. So this is going to be a -3. Again, all we have to figure out is what the period is, and we can figure out what b is. So low, middle, high, middle, low. It's beginning to repeat already. Middle, high, middle, low. So how long did it take to get from the start back to the start, it took pi over 2 units. The period for this one is pi over 2, but we know that's always equal to 2 pi over b, and we can cross multiply. Pi times b is 4 pi. Divide both sides by pi, and we get that b is 4. So y equals to -3 cosine of 4x is the equation for that particular graph. All right, let's look at these last 4. I'll make sure I've got it in a place where you can see it. I need to fold my paper. Okay. Let me fold it so you can see these last 4. Number 2, it says the function graphed is of the form y equals k plus the cosine of x. Y equals k plus the cosine of x. Or it's either a vertical shift or a horizontal shift. But the amplitude is 1 and it's not reflected. So the period is also going to be 2 pi. So because b is 1, the period, b is 1 in all of these, the period's 2 pi. Because the amplitude is 1, it's only going to go up 1, down 1. What's the difference in these? Vertical shifts and horizontal shifts. So let's see if we can figure this out. Let's look at this one. This one, look, it starts in the middle, goes high, goes middle, goes low, goes middle. This is a sine graph. This is a sine wave of some sort. Okay, so what's going on with this sine wave? At 0, it started in the middle. So it's starting where it is, but what happened to it? This has just been shifted down 1 unit. This is a sine. If this, look here, if I drew a line through this and made that the x-axis, it would just be exactly a sine wave. So what happened to our sine curve is it got shifted vertically down 1 unit. So this equation is y is the sine of x minus 1, or -1 plus the sine of x. That's what the answer to this one is. All right, let's look at this guy right here. This one, if we start at 0, it starts high at 3. What kind of graph do we know that starts high? Cosine. So this looks like a cosine to me. It took 2 pi to finish it. So this looks like we're a cosine graph. All right, but it starts at 3 and not 1. That's a little weird. Where's the middle part? Let's draw the middle line, the midline. That, if this was the x-axis, that would look just like a cosine graph. High, middle, low, middle, high. So what's happening here? Well, our midline shifted from 0 to 2, so this is a vertical shift up 2. So this is an answer, or 2 plus cosine x. That's an answer. These are both correct. All right, how about this one down here? How about this guy? This looks middle, high, middle, low, middle. That looks like a sine wave to me. So let's see, where would the middle point be? Is this the middle point? Oh no, that doesn't look quite right. Let's see. What's happening here? Is this shifted a little? Oh, I think this one might be shifted a little. So this looks like it's shifted. Where does it look like it wants? This is pi over 3, and this is 2 pi over 3. Okay, if this was shifted back, if this point occurred right here, right? If this high point occurred right here, at 1/2, and this point occurred right here, and this high point occurred right here. Oh, we could say if this was shifted left, then this high point would be here, right? And then it would go down, and this point would hit right here, and this high point would hit right here. So if everything was shifted to the left a little bit, then we would be staring at cosine wave is what we'd be staring at. And it would finish right here, up high. Oh, we finish right there. Oh. So, what are we looking at? I believe here we're looking at a cosine wave that has been shifted to the right, pi over 3. Or we could say this is a sine wave that has been shifted to the left, we could say. So I think, let's go with cosine. If this is cosine, this would be high. It should start there, but it got shifted to the right, pi over 3. So y is equal to the cosine of x minus pi over 3, because horizontal shifts are the opposite of what they appear to be. So we're going to go to the right, pi over 3, for that guy. All right, because it's going up 1 and down 1. That's same. Okay, what does this guy look like it's doing? This one looks like it is a sine wave that got shifted to the left, pi over 3. That's what it looks like. If we shifted it back to the right, this would be our 0, then it'd go high, then it'd go middle, then it'd go low, then it'd go middle. So it got shifted to the left, pi over 3. So how do we indicate that? We want to say this is y is equal to the sine of x. And if we want something to go left, pi over 3, we're going to say plus pi over 3. Let me go back and make sure I did this one right. What happened here? This was our cosine wave that got shifted to the right. So I would say this cosine wave to the right, pi over 3. Yes. And this got shifted to the left, and so I would say sine shifted to the left, pi over 3. Okay, yep, that's right. That's how you can go about figuring out the equations for these guys.